Jamie. Steve, how's your Monday?
Thank you very much, Scott. Hello, everyone. Steve, hello to you as well, sir. It
Yes.
feels like we haven't been here in forever with the test drive going on, but we're
Welcome
back
back.
now. And what a test drive it was. I think we had record attendance in this one. So everybody getting a good peek at the tech. So that's a good thing. Well, here we are, almost the end of May, and today is the 24th. You got myself and Steve Gomez in the house. So without further ado, welcome everyone. Looks like a decent little crowd in here is building. So before we get rolling, just a quick moment to make the lawyers sleep a little easier. I just want to make everybody aware of the fact that's in attendance, whether it's this webinar or any of the other ones that we have coming at you on a weekly basis, that the things that we share with you guys are for educational purposes only, simply meaning it is not investment advice. If you do need investment advice, please seek out someone like a registered Series 7 stockbroker or a registered investment advisor that can legally dispense that buy and sell information to you. Just once again, everything that we share with all of you here in our webinars is for educational purposes only. And moving right along here, since we did just wrap up the test drive, I'm assuming there are probably some new people in attendance today. So just like to take a little bit of time at the top of every hour here, just to make everybody aware of the fact that we built quite the community around the scanner that is TI Pro. All kind of starts over here on the left-hand side at the top here with the trading room hosted by Barry Anderson. And Barry opens up the doors to the trading room about 30 minutes before each open there. And it is a great place to be. Doesn't matter what your level of skill is, could be a beginner, intermediate, or an advanced trader, but we've got traders from all three of those categories in there on a daily basis. And Barry does a fantastic job at moderating a room that could have 300-400 people in it on any given day. Barry also likes to answer questions about the tech. Of course, he's also going to be primarily showcasing the way he trades, along with the way that he uses the scanner. So if you've shopped around, you know that most of the trading rooms out there that are worth their salt, they come at a pretty good cost, right? They're not free, but that is the price of entry here at the Trade Ideas Trading Room, $0, 0 cents. So if you have not been taking advantage of that resource, by all means, get in there and do so. Of course, today's Monday. You're going to get myself and Steve with the office hours. Steve's going to grab that steering wheel for tomorrow on Tuesdays for the trade of the week. I'd like to change it up just a little bit on Wednesdays. Q&A demo session with our CEO and founder, Dan Merkin, and our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Brad Williams. Always fun with those two. And then Andy's going to round out the 5 p.m. Eastern webinar slots with the Trading Studio, and I'm going to ride shotgun with him on Thursdays. Lastly here, we've got the daily support session, which is every day, Monday through Friday, and you can see right here, starts at 12 p.m. Eastern. We allocate an hour for that session. It's a great place to come and get your questions answered in real time in a live webinar setting. We always have a different trader/trainer individual in there manning the post. So once again, that's a great place to go, get any questions answered live with detailed visuals as well. Now the next slide here, I'll show you how to get there. And once you get there, you can bookmark this link because it is static. It's the same address each and every time. As you see in the bottom corner there, trade-ideas.com/live. It's on YouTube. So once you get there, you can bookmark it for easy access Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. And to kind of round out the educational resources here, we've got the TI University, which is also a great 4-part video series. Everything from beginning 101, beginning 201, intermediate, and advanced 401, covering most of the functions of Trade Ideas Pro. And the nice thing about these is you can watch them at your leisure, watch them at a pace that is comfortable for you just by going to our YouTube channel. Just doing the old search for TI University, and you'll get all 4 of these guys to pop up, especially if you're brand new to the product. Any of you test drivers that are coming into the family for the first time, highly recommend watching this 4-part series. It'll help get you over that learning curve a lot quicker than not watching these videos. All righty, moving right along here. Here we are at today's itinerary. Let me just hit the old escape button here. Gonna let Steve take the reins here in just a minute for the market recap, a little gap and go action today. My expectations today, my CC readings, it's a not a very common occurrence, but these guys weren't a whole lot of help today, and I'll give you a peek at the readings here when I take the helm back from Steve here. Holly struggling a little bit today as well. We'll get to that as well, but as you can see here from my comments, kind of slim pickings from the AI today. Now, once we get done with the AI recap, we're going to talk about the strength alerts. You know, those things have been active for the past, man, Steve, I forget if it's 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. I want to say 4 or 5, maybe 4, that those things have been active. So we're going to talk about those, talk about the fresh ones that were issued over the weekend, and one of my favorite ways to keep tabs on those fresh picks every Monday. And then we're going to talk about some new functionality that's coming up in the next build. It's not readily available to you guys yet, but I'm going to be giving you guys a peek at the new container functionality, which we've been working on for quite some time, which I think you guys will see. It's going to add another layer of dimension to the product for just easy access and be able to manipulate the data that we want to see in a lot easier fashion here. So I guess, Steve, it's time to kick it over to you, talk about the overall tracking indexes and overall market action that we had today. So if you're ready, sir,
Sure.
here comes the baton.
All righty, make sure I'm off mute. Yeah, good to go here. So hello, everybody. It's been a couple weeks since we've spoken to you, and definitely a few things have happened along the way. A couple of actual tests of the 50-day moving average. You know, I'm pretty sure that it's been, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a couple of really good tests of the 50-day moving average. And once again, the market memory, like muscle memory, creating a new word here, market memory showed up once again at the 50-day moving average. So I was rather cautious back here. It wasn't long anything. Slowly been adding to some things as yesterday or Friday and today definitively back above the key moving averages, showing that the buyers are still in control on this major trend line here of the S&P. Oops, there we go. So yeah, clear sailing there in the S&P and over in the NASDAQ. Same thing again today being the first day. It poked its head back above the nasty armpit that really was all I had to go on last week. You know, we had that horrific gap down and no follow through. But, that was after I was talking about this first failed attempt right there, and then another failed attempt right here. So we didn't know what was going to happen. Was this time going to be different? No, it was not different. This time was the same. And for the most part, all the indexes are kind of recovering in the same fashion. There's the Dow as well, back in clean air territory up here, also adhering to the nice 50-day buy. The only thing that's still lagging a little bit is the Russell, the small OTCs under $5, or the smaller cap stuff, definitely under pressure, but there's no reason to think that it just can't be dragged higher if that's the way it's going to be in the bigger indexes. And we'll take a couple quick look at a couple of sectors I think are interesting to keep an eye on this week, because as we know, it's just been one big rotation game from one sector to another. And some of the ones that kind of stood out to me as I went through here as Jamie was talking, and I'll talk more about them tomorrow in depth. Airlines look kind of interesting to me. They've really just sitting there on their own little shelf, maybe getting ready for a big push above that 50-day moving average. That's interesting. The financials, I even said to take a look at in the trade of the week, possible, kind of attempt to move higher in the financials this week, especially if interest rate continues to be discussed. Moving up, gold miners also very bullish, and that really is the thesis of the trade of the week this week. But you look up flag. I mean, there's just a beautiful bounce off the 10-day moving average, and there's just a beautiful flag there in the all-encompassing gold mining index. So one more that kind of caught my eye, possibly keep an eye on again this week, might be energy. Bit more of a defined pennant over there, not as defined as the gold miners, but those are some of the things that are catching my eye. But no bear case to be made. The forces that be just continue to buy this market, and you don't argue with it. You just sit back and say, okay, well, what jump rope can I jump into now and find some good risk reward and see where we go from there. But that's really all we got, Jamie. Just a really nice double test of the 50-day moving average in the broader index since we last spoke to everybody 2 weeks ago.
Thanks a bunch, Steve. Yeah, we were all kind of joking last week about, hey, all-time highs by Friday. Well, maybe we were just a couple of days off, but not too much further to go.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
All right, let me grab the baton back from you. And we'll just get on into, well, we do want to talk a little about the CC readings because when I saw these readings this morning after the first 15 minutes, that's a pretty significant bias to the downside as far as stocks being sold versus stocks being bought as far as the big cap goes. Big cap stocks of a market cap of 4 billion or higher. And a lot of the times we get that move. But from prior experience, some of you may be aware of this if you're new to the game. This compare count window, which is one of our windows that you can spawn here at Trade Ideas, you can just keep count of things, stocks hitting highs, stocks hitting lows. But I found it to be worth it to watch the ones with a market cap of 4 billion or higher, because a lot of the times that can give us a little read on what the market might be up to. Now, a lot of the times we'll get the move after the first 15 minutes, it'll be direct, okay? And sometimes it's delayed and it happens at the end of the session. And that's kind of what happened today. It just wasn't that big of a move. So once again, before I pull that away, anytime I see a bias above 55%, whether it's to the upside or to the downside, then I my ears perk up, my eyebrows raise a little bit more. If it's 55% or less, I'm just kind of like, yeah, gonna be some good shorts, some good longs. But we had a pretty strong one today of 57%. And as we can see here from the SPY on the intraday, didn't really get any of that downside action until the very end of the day. And it wasn't that significant, okay? So kind of a non-event today as far as the compare accounts go, but did give us a little bit of a heads up that we might sell off in the closing hour. Got that little bit of downside action, but not a whole lot of opportunity there. So those were just kind of a non-event. It's kind of lining up with everything else that I was watching today that were coming through my windows. So might not be the case for everybody today, but based on what I was observing today, there were some good trades out there. They were just, there was also a lot of noise as well. And when we get into the Holly recap, well, that's going to be quite obvious here. All right. As I noted here, slim pickings. Okay. A lot of signals today, but not a whole lot of green on the board. So here we can see the strategies list that Holly showed up with today. Quite a few strategies in the hopper. And what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 of the shorts, 4 short strategies mixed in there. And, as fate would have it, the biggest winner on the blotter today just happened to be a short, the TAL trade. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. So usually when I do the Holly recap here, we've got lots of different things to look at. Typically like to look and see if there was any spread between moderate profit and conservative profit, these columns here. And what we typically be looking for at the close is a larger number in the moderate profit column versus conservative to see if we could have captured some of that spread or that extended move. But as you can see here, we're not getting that today. All right, equal here, less over here. So not any conservative versus moderate spread to speak of today. So can't really talk about that, how we would capture any of that spread if it doesn't exist. The other thing I like to talk about are maybe some add-on opportunities on an existing trade that Holly spits out, and or what we call a trade around. Okay, and even the trade arounds are pretty slim as well. There's pretty much only one example, so we're gonna have to flip it over to the things that got stopped out. Okay, and the only one that I saw today that really kind of grabbed me was this BLDR. So when we're looking at the intraday here on BLDR, we can see about 27 minutes into the open is when this signal was called. We had the buy up here. Let me get rid of that line there. 44.57, get a little bit of upside, and then whoosh, and the following 15, no, actually not the following, but about 30 minutes into that trade, we get stopped out here, okay? All the way down to the 44.18 level. So the key is, when you see the AI get stopped out, you might want to observe and see how the stock reacts around that stop area. Does it continue going down or up if it was a short, or does the stop area more or less act as a pivot point? Well, clearly in the BLDR, we can see the wick below and then the recovering the next 15-minute candle there. So when you see these wicks like this snapping right back up to that stop level, a lot of the times it is worth maybe taking a stab at an entry here. Of course, we're far away from the original AI entry, but basing our decision around how the stock operated or acted around that stop level. So, once we see this wick and this next candle open up above that stop area, could have taken a pop at it right around the 44.20 area. Typically just use the bottom of the wick or a little bit outside of that as a stop loss. So we're making a completely different entry in a trade around the AI trade that was stopped out. So 44.20, boom, up to 44.88. Looks like the max, whether you got out here or had a little downslope, you had the same opportunity towards the close. So about 70 cents of potential in there, trading around that thing from the stop level. Looking at the rest of these stop hits here, BLDR, if we're risking $100 per trade, which is what I have all mine set on, obviously this was the most opportunistic one. Triple D, got a little bit of an opportunity in there, but this one was on a short. But it came much later in the day. Didn't really have a whole lot of time to react to that thing, as this one was spit out later in the day over here, okay? So just not a whole lot of opportunity in the trade around category, the add-on category. Well, there's a little bit on the add-on, but as far as the risk, conservative profit versus moderate spread, nothing there. A little bit of a trade around in BLDR, but there were a couple that caught my eye that were short trades today that just happened to be coming through my favorite short window, which is down here in the bottom right corner. This little guy right here, which is typically where I find a lot of my good opening range breaks to the upside and the downside. And by the way, those were pretty non-existent for my two windows today as well, with the exception of the two that we're going to look at here, which just also happen to be Holly trades. So SFT and TAL. Okay, so let's take a look at SFT first. Let's take a look at the one that didn't work so good. Well, it did. It just took a little bit of time. Okay, so notice the AI entry right here with SFT. A lot of things I like about this trade. We had the high put in, we had the low put in, then we get a little bit of range bound action here in the following hour leading up to the AI signal, which delivered the short there at 643. And then we just did a little sideways dance for a good long time. Didn't really get capitulation in this one until pretty late into the market, about an hour and 45 minutes left over. That'd be 2:15 Eastern time, but this thing finally did break down. So not a whole lot of room here to really add to the position, but notice we mark off these wicks here, and on these little small ones here, whether you use the wicks or the candle bodies is really just a personal preference. Using the wicks, we did have a little bit more oomph right here as this thing broke down on its orb. If we're using the candle bodies, even a little bit more, right? This one just took a long time to materialize. So flat, hovering around that entry line until the seller finally came back in, pushed it down. So from the original price of 643, if we stuck with our normal or our original entry over here, we had capitulation down to 616. Not a huge move on a dollar basis, but on a percentage level, not too bad, and a decent opportunity to add to the position late in the day. Okay, so a decent add opportunity in SFT. Of course, we had TAL, which was a lot more well behaved and was also coming through my high volume ticker. So when I see something that Holly's already in, and then I see it coming through this high volume ticker here, like SFT and TAL did, it gives me a little bit more confidence to go ahead and go, you know what, I think I'm going to participate or add to this position. So when we're looking at the TAL, similar action here, except we get the signal a little bit early. You know, seller was definitely in control in TAL in the first hour. Okay, a little bit of a gap down. Keep in mind the market was gapping up. So when we see a stock gapping down in an up market, we know there's weakness. Seller was really fully in control in the first hour. Then of course, as sellers do, they take a little break because they can't just keep pounding the market with, you know, heavy sell activity, have too much price impact. Then once things kind of settle down, we get the AI entry here, and then we have a secondary pattern that has yet to unfold. You know, on the SFT, it was right at the break. This one's a little bit early. So when I see these, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if we creep down here, this is going to be a nice little add opportunity as this level is broken here. And you can see, get my cursor back here, 36.91, original price, 37.70. We get an add opportunity at 36, let's just call that 36.80. And then we bottom out around 34.36. So, you know, a nice, let's see, 36.77, 34, you know, not a bad 2.5 points in change from the breakout level where we had the nice add-on opportunity and had pretty much all day to exit this one for some nice profit. So the TAL trade could have been leveraged really nice on the secondary pattern unfolding. Let's not forget, how was the volume in the TAL today as well? Hey, we had nice juicy volume all day, okay? So did have at least one 3-star trade in here. Statistical probability delivered by the AI, a nice conducive tame secondary pattern that might play out, plays out in the next 15-minute candle, nice add opportunity, and nice volume accompanying that break as well. And that is pretty much it for Holly. I mean, you know, as you can see from the blotter here, not a whole lot of red, excuse me, not a whole lot of green compared to the red. If we look over here at the channel bar, based around 100 shares, NEO up 260, between 2.0 and 1.0, down about $1.85. So just a little bit better than flat as far as a point total, but all of the totals that you see right here are based around risking $100 and letting the system size us up accordingly, whereas these totals over here are based on trading 100 shares per trade. Okay, and that's pretty much it for our lovely AI today. So I see a question in there with my name on it. Let me see here, KJ. Is there a way to find out the percentage of highs and lows like SCPS? Let me take a look at that. I'm not sure I really understand. You're talking about the number of times that the stock hit a low? Yeah, so I see the low here was 5. Let's see here.
I think he's looking for the percentage of the spread, the distance from high to low, and I don't think it can be done with a filter. Maybe a custom, but I don't know.
Percentage of highs and lows. Okay, so the difference between the low and the high. Okay, yeah, I think I understand that based on what you just told me, Steve. And that might be doable via a custom formula, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. So KJ, what you might want to do is just send that inquiry into info@trade-ideas.com, and then we can get back to you and let you know if it's doable via a custom filter. No problem there. Okay, moving right along here. Done with Holly. Strength alerts. As I was saying earlier, I can't remember if this is the 4th week. I think it is. Could be the 5th for all I know. The test drives kind of got me in a, got my memory in a tizzy. But let's talk about the new strength alerts that were delivered to your inbox today. I'm gonna get rid of the strategies panel here. And here are the strength alerts for today. Now, what's the easiest method to keep up with the strength alerts? Of course, everybody might have their own opinion. People might want to create alert windows or top list windows with a custom list. I find it easiest just to use my liked symbol top list, which you can grab from this channel right here, stocks I like. Save this my liked symbols into your cloud and then simply spawn it onto your default layout. And then all we have to do every Monday morning or Sunday night, whichever, whenever you're doing your thing, is just populate the charts with these symbols and click on the little heart up here. They will be added to this list. So once I click through each one of these, you'll notice we've got a heart in each one, and those stocks will be easily monitored. And you can put whatever metrics in here that you like to keep track of. Let's just take a look at how these performed today. Okay, KRC, definitely the shining star of the 5 strength alerts that came out today. What do we have right here? A little bitty gap up. We had an opening price of 69.94, or no, actually 69.30. So at the low of this candle right here, and just up and away. Got a little bit weak at the close, but not a bad run in KRC today. CPRT, what was the open on this one? 128.30. So if you bought this one on the open, you're down a smidge, but let's take a peek at how it's looking on the daily. All right. Not too bad of that little red hammer close there, almost a doji, and we're not too far away from all-time highs and a rather strong close on this little guy. Tell you what, let's just zoom out a little bit. Let's take a peek at the weekly here. Okay. Not a bad little, few weeks here. I like those bottoming wicks. We're bottoming wicking again on the week, and we've only got just a smidge to get to what I think is all-time highs on CPRT. So this is what I've been doing, is just kind of zooming out, taking more of a look at the weekly on these strength alerts. Let's look at the weekly on KRC. All right. Closing above this little level right here. So, looking way back here, we might be getting into this little area of congestion right here for the next stopping point. But KRC looking pretty solid on that weekly as well. How did EW close today? EW, this one looking a little, looking like one of the opening here, 95.02. Not bad, still profitable. If you held this one into the close, you're up significantly more during the day. This little guy looking a little bit different, not quite as snuggly and warm as its two counterparts, KRC and CPRT, but not looking too shabby nonetheless. Wicked back a little bit today, but the prior week nailing that 10 period as well. So still looking strong and not too far away from all-time highs as well. APO, what do we have today? Open of 57.80, down about 36 cents on this one. So none of these, none of these are getting murdered today. I like what's going on the APO. We got these bottoming wicks on the prior 2 weeks and just kind of toeing the line up here, just waiting for a breakout as well. Thus the term strength alerts. All of these stocks are going to be strong from a technical standpoint on the longer terms. It's just about selecting a good entry. And last on the list here, AEE. I guess this one would be kind of the laggard today, 85.34, maybe down 60 some odd cents or so, but check out what's happening on the weekly. All right, still toeing the line here, a lot of bottoming wicks, hugging that 10 period like a good stock should. So even though this one was a little bit weak on the intraday time frame, it's still looking relatively strong. So, it's also a good idea if you're not in these right off the bat, maybe set some price alerts. Notice the action every time the weekly gets down here to this 10 period on the prior 2 weeks, right here and right here. Let's say we have a little bit of weakness in the market tomorrow, might behest us to go ahead and set a price alert around the 83.60, 83.70 area in case we get a little bit of weakness and we want to bounce off that 10 period again. So you know, a lot of these are going to move right off the bat, but the ones that don't move, that doesn't mean that they're out of the game. They're just taking a little bit different of a path. But I definitely focus on the longer time frames on these, and when you see a little bit of weakness on the intraday and it's coinciding with some of these moving averages, then that would probably be a pretty good time to take a stab at an entry on these strength alerts. Will the host show how to open new strength alert window? Okay, that's a good question, Corey, since we are talking about strength alerts, but we've also created a channel for this, if I can find it. There we go. See the big Batman like whammy icon over here? If we click on the strength alerts channel, you can see all of the fresh symbols are going to be in there every Monday for you. Okay, the methodology that I was showing you earlier is I'm just using a different way to keep tabs on these. So you could import this window or just save it to your cloud and then revamp it in your default layout, or you can do the methodology that I was showing you earlier with the my like symbols and so forth, okay? But the strength alerts, all you have to do is click on the channel there and you'll be good to go. So hopefully that helps you out there. Okay, and now it's time to show you guys. It's not available yet in the version that you guys are on, but hopefully once we get a few more of the bugs worked out of it, it should be released relatively soon. And I do believe the new version is going to be called 5.5. We'll be leaving the 4.0 version of TI behind and going to the 5, starting out with 5.5. So you'll know that when you see 5.5 on the website, it's going to have the container functionality. Now, some of you might be scratching your head going, what in the world is he talking about? What's a container? Well, it's been one of the most highly requested functions that we've had over the years. And let me just get back to this layout and I will show you what it's all about. Yeah, a sim, I would assume that you're talking about auto trading the AI. And if my assumption is correct, then a great place to be and get your questions answered would be tomorrow in the live support session. That'd be a great place to get your questions answered on that. If you have specific detailed questions, you could always send it in to info@trade-ideas.com and we could respond to you via email. But if you'd like some live support, just cruise over to the live support session tomorrow, trade-ideas.com/live, and whoever's on the mic tomorrow could help you out in a live format, which I think will be none other than Steve. So a couple of different ways to help you out there. Okay, so now let's talk about the new container functionality. All right, so notice all of these windows are what we call free floating windows. And for many years now, people have asked from time to time, is there a way I can just drag all of these windows as one container? And up until this point, the answer has been, it is not possible. But check out this window that I created. Notice what it says up here, Trade Ideas Pro Doc. And notice it is a free floating window. I can just move it around quickly. I can minimize it. I can come back to it. And that is the new container functionality. And there's going to be a couple of different ways that you can use this functionality. So what I'm going to do first is, one of the common questions that we've always had is, I'd like to have more than one channel open at any given time. So for example, if I was on the Buzz channel in the old format, that's great, I like it. But if I click on another channel, it erases that channel and then we're back to square one. But now, if I come up here to new and I click on new docked channel bar, I get this separate free floating container to present itself, and then I can click on Wall Street Bets. And now I've got this container that I can easily manipulate. I can come over here, I can change things just as if it were a free floating window. All the functionality is exactly the same. It's just I've got this nice little container for each and every channel. And I could keep duplicating these. Let's say we want another channel, right? New doc channel bar. Got a fresh window, so I could have the Wall Street Bets channel open. I also want to have the Buzz channel open at the same time. Now I've got two different channels that I could keep up, and it really just depends. Can immediately resize these as well. But it really just becomes a factor of how much screen space do you have. But, you know, keep this one over here, keep this one on my front desktop, but it's just a much easier way to have multiple layouts or multiple channels open so that you don't have to click, watch one, click, have it erase, watch the other one, okay? So we can duplicate any channel in its own separate container, or we can build our own custom layout if that's what we want to do. So let me flip back to my default layout and I'll give you guys a taste on how to do it from scratch. Okay, let's say I didn't want to watch the pre-configured channels. I just wanted to take the windows that I feel are most important to my trading and do it the manual way and create my own empty container. I would come up here and just say new doc window, okay? Notice it is completely blank, right? So let's say I wanted to move two of my favorite high and low tickers into this container. First, I would come down here and right click, and I would just say duplicate into Trade Ideas Pro Doc, and notice what it does. That window is in there, but it's taking up the whole screen. But let's go ahead and get some more in there. I'm gonna move this guy in. So I've got those two alert windows in, but I don't want to forget about my other windows. Let's say I want to move these two multi-strats in. I would do the same thing. Right click, duplicate in the Pro Doc, right click, duplicate in the Pro Doc. Okay, so now I've got all four windows in there, but currently I can just click on each one and it's taken up the whole screen. So what do we do now? Okay, because this is not usable in this format. So notice the little highlight. Okay, as soon as I click on it and I drag it, I get this little I guess quad mechanism to show up. And let's say I wanted this one to be on the left side. I would say, boom, I want you on the left side, okay? Now, each one of these windows, I got one on the left and one on the right, but I've got these two other windows in here as well. So I would do the same thing. And notice when I click and drag, I could put them up on this level, but if I come down further, notice how it highlights. It's going, okay, if you click there, this is where your window is gonna go. If I like that positioning, I just let go, all right? Now I've got this window, I've got two quadrants now. I got the left and right and the upper and the lower, and we still got one window to go here. So I'll do the same thing, and I'll tell this guy to come down here. Okay, so now I've got one here, and I could keep this process going for as many windows as I felt the need for in here. Maybe I want to throw the AI panel in here. Do the same thing, Trade Ideas Pro Doc. There it is, okay. Where would I want to put this guy? Let's say I'd want to squeeze it in at the bottom here. That way I can see anytime a new trade comes out, I still got plenty of room to see the ticker flow from my turbo family up. But hey, everybody likes their single stock window. But keep in mind, in its current format, in its original format, we would have to click on each tab if we wanted to get, say, profile, then maybe we wanted to see what the news was. So now we can do things like this. I'm gonna right click in there. I'm gonna dump that into the doc as well. I'm gonna click profile. I'm gonna dump that into the doc. Okay, so now I will grab these and I could come down to this little quadrant and go, you know what? I want you on the bottom, and I'm going to come down here and I want you on the bottom on the right. So now I've created yet another layer so I can quickly see what the news is. Anytime I pull a stock up, I can see the profile. And if I wanted to keep going, I could put 2 more tabs in here for the other 2 tabs of or the other 3 tabs of the single stock window. Okay, so you can see where I'm going with this. Eventually, we can have multiple layouts. Maybe you're going to have one for your pre-market. Then you can just quickly drag over the one that you use when you go into the regular trading session. Maybe you have one for the AI, but it just opens up a whole new way that we can manipulate our layouts and put our windows in there and parse the screens out into quadrants, sub-quadrants, and so forth and so on. Let's see here, make contain out of pre-existing layout at once with dragging. Yes, George, I see where you're going with that. That would be nice as well, just to drag it all in there and go, you know what, let's just have this in here. Right now, of course, this is only like day number 3, since this functionality was just delivered to all of us. I believe it was Thursday or Friday, I can't remember exactly, but we've all only had it a little while to play with. So it does open up a whole new realm as far as, you know, the ways that we can manipulate and move our data around in an easier fashion. All right, so does anybody have any other questions regarding the container functionality? It's pretty simple right now. It's a little confusing in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it with the little quadrants, you know, once again, let's see here. What's missing here? Well, hey, everybody likes to have charts. Let's just go ahead and add charts as well. We'll add that guy. Notice it puts it way down here at the bottom, but all I have to do is drag it up here and go, okay, now we're going to put a chart up here. And then we're going to put a chart up here. And then, of course, we can always grab the borders and resize, you know, just like the regular. Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. We wanted this guy up here. And we'll put this guy back down here. But it is pretty smart as far as where to put the respective windows. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Container functionality is now being tested. Hopefully it'll be delivered to you guys relatively soon. Give you guys a lot more malleability with the product. All right, little time check here. We are running up about on the 15-minute mark of the hour here, so we're probably going to start winding it down here. Let me check out your question real quick here, Jay. How does TI decide how much money's worth of a trade it will execute? In other words, if you have 100K to spend in your account, will AI consider the entire portion available to trade? Okay, good question. I think I know where you're going with this. So let me just move my container out of the way here. And notice what I do here. Okay, take note of my AI plotter, okay? All of the values that you see on my plotter is based around risking $100 per trade. So it doesn't matter how much the security cost. I've instructed my AI to only risk $100, and then it will size me accordingly based on the respective stop loss for that trade. But there are several different ways you can set up your risk and your capital allocations. Notice what I do here. I go to the TI toolbar, I go to options, and then we go to AI trade size. Now up here we've got different options available. All right. Notice, well, it doesn't look like AI trade size to me. There we go. Okay. Notice we can do dollars per trade, shares per trade, or the current mode that I'm using, risk $100 based on, or just risk $100 per trade. So whatever you put in here, dollar per trade, shares per trade, or based on stop loss. So Jay, I hope that illuminates that topic for you. Okay, if you set a predefined dollar amount up here, then the AI will use whatever dollar amount you put in. Shares, obviously, it's going to be dependent upon how pricey or least expensive the stock is. But notice if we use risk-based, okay, if I say only risk $100 per trade, and then I come over here to look at the blotter, okay, on TAL, I was risking $100, okay, and based on the stop loss of the short here, if I shorted it at 37.70 and it stopped me out at 39.23, in order to only lose $100, we would have only been in 65 shares of TAL. So roughly speaking, that was about 65 times, let's just call it 37.70. Let's see, I'm too lazy to do it in my head here. So 65 times 37.70 on that one would have been $24.50 in buying power would have been allocated there, right? Whereas this one, KOPN, if we would have gotten stopped out, 647 to 669, 455 shares at 669 is about $3,000 in that specific trade, okay? So your amount of capital will vary a little bit, but it's because it's all based on the stop loss being used. But once again, if you only want to allocate $2,000 per trade, you could set it up here and use dollars per trade. And hold on, my my questions panel got a little truncated there. So if I have 100K, put $100 trade per stop loss, will she consider all 100K? Not on one specific trade, Jay, okay? But, let's say there were a lot of trades for that day, then you could theoretically run into your buying power limit there. Does Holly place the stop loss and same risk as you are showing? Okay, so everybody's risk levels are the same there. Everybody's entry and stop loss parameters are going to be exactly the same. Now, if we wanted to see the stop for each and every trade, if I pull the strategy panel back over here, for example, TAL, pullback short was the strategy, okay? So let's see here. Pullback short, okay? That's the one that triggered the TAL. And we can see the stop loss there was based around the R3 pivot level. And that was right up here at 39.23. So everybody's entries and stop losses and profit targets are going to be exactly the same. Yeah, as Steve was pointing out there. All right, let me take a look at some that have not been answered here before we conclude. Can the AI be customized further besides the ones under the options for trading size? Very good question, Maria. At present time, it is not possible to customize the AI as far as the strategies that show up for the trading session, because we had quite a few strategies make the cut today. If we count them up real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. 15 strategies made the cut, but just because a strategy makes the cut does not ensure that it's going to fire off a trade for the day, because these are very specific filter sets. Notice these bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 had no trades. All the other ones had 1 and 2 trades respectfully. But the way the system works is these strategies were all selected from the core of strategies that the AI has. It's always rising and falling a little bit, but on average, there's about 35 strategies in the AI core strategy bank. And even right now, as we speak, After we incorporate all the tick data for all the stocks in the market today, the AI is going to start back testing all of its core strategies and optimizing them. And we've developed a proprietary scoring system. So after all that heavy lifting is done on the computational side, it's only the strategies that meet the minimum on our proprietary scoring system that will make the cut for tomorrow's trading. So you can't modify any of these strategies. Okay, once the die is cast, these are the strategies that will make the cut. You'll see those in the morning, and then we'll see which symbols get triggered from the various strategies. Right, Jay, that's because if you're risking $100 and you get stopped out, then the most shares you could be in to limit your loss to $100 would be 455. If you went higher than 455 shares, you could theoretically lose more than 100. So once you dictate to the system your stop loss value, it calculates the proper amount of shares based on the value of the stop loss. And each one is different for each and every trade. Okay, good deal. Can you limit the AI to only show stocks under 25? Well, if I right click here and I show the strategy menu, you can pick and choose which strategies you want to see right now, but there's no way to limit the share price at current. We hope to have that in a future build of the product. But for now, you can manually just go, okay, well, I see these are way above 25, so you would have only been interested in, these lower price stocks today, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there were 5 of. And lastly here, before we give it back to Scott for the walkout, something that we come across a lot as traders, okay, what if a stock is hard to borrow and you're using B+, whether it be automation or manual? If you're using automation, whether it's Holly or a strategy that you configured, get that short signal, you're like, hey, why didn't I get that short? You look at the messages and it says hard to borrow. That's just something that we all run into. It's one of those things that you can't really calculate into a back test, right? Fortunately, that's only for the short side, of course, with the recent snafus and GameStop and AMC, where they limited buying in a stock for the first time that I've seen in that capacity. You used to never have to worry about not getting executed on a buy if it was a market order. But yes, hard to borrow is definitely something that will impact a short strategy. If you go to short that thing, it's not borrowable. Therefore, you can't short it. And a lot of the times those are going to be the winners, but it's just something that we all have to deal with there. It would just get rejected. All right. We're at the top of the hour here, so I want to thank you guys for popping in, and hope you enjoyed the preview of the container functionality. So Scott, if you're ready to show everybody how they can save a little bit of cash on a new sub or an upgrade, I guess it's that time.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Yeah, if anyone's wondering, those containers will be out in a future beta release, like Jamie mentioned, so just stay tuned for updates on that. You can grab a new ebook, tradeIdeas.com/strategy. Will take you to a page where you can get the favorite strategy indicators of Dave Mabe, our Director of Software Development, the creator of Holly and Brokerage Plus. So go ahead and check that book out. It's free, it's informative, and we'll have some strategies for you to try out. We got a podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to check out the newest episodes. Stay tuned for when we release the next one. So it's under Trade Ideas Podcasts. Wherever you listen to your pods, go ahead and search for that term. And there's a sale. Oh, Jamie, somehow the sale slides got moved back around. I thought I had those in the new order. Can you go ahead and unshare and then reshare your presentation?
Yes, I thought we had the
test drive sale.
yeah.
I thought I put that in the right slot, but I guess I pulled the wrong one down.
You know what, Scott? I was manipulating these. Hold on one second. I think I might have
just reshare it out. I put it back.
I might have killed it here. Okay, hold on one sec. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. one of us did that. I'm not sure who it was.
I don't make mistakes like that typically. Hold on. Well, hold on. I got mouse problems now.
Because we had the super successful test drive the last 2 weeks, more than we've ever had join us before. And we wanted to share the love with people that even didn't participate in the test drive. So go ahead and.
Yes, sorry about that.
grab that code, test drive 25. It expires midnight the 26th, so use it before then. It's a great way to either upgrade from standard to premium and save a big chunk of money, or just start a new subscription, annual or monthly. And of course, you save the most off the monthly, so go ahead and take advantage of that. Thanks for helping me out with that, Jamie. You can find Jamie, speaking of him, on Twitter at QuantBot. And then Steve Gomez, you can locate him at TISteveG. Facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro is the Facebook page to find and share with all your friends. And any questions at all, shoot it to info@TradeIdeas.com. That's the best place to send it. Doesn't get lost, goes to our help desk, gets you the support you need. We'll send a email tomorrow with some information about how to find the recording of the session. So stay tuned for that. And thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, Jamie and Steve.
Yep. Thank you, Scott. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Steve. We'll see you guys on the flip side tomorrow. Bye-bye.